Hello everyone and welcome to Zest with me, Shel Marie, the podcast that'll take you on a journey from the hustle to the harmony, fueling your passion whilst finding your peace. Today it is an absolute joy to welcome Sharon Hurley Hall, a mentor, anti-racism educator, award-winning podcaster and champion for change makers who lead with quiet power. Through her work, she is helping leaders amplify their voices and dismantle semantic barriers. She invites us into a space where authenticity, courage, and thoughtful leadership create transformative impact. Today, I'm sure we will explore what it truly takes to be heard while staying aligned with yourself. May this episode bring you the clarity, inspiration, and empowered courage and curiosity that you seek. And if you haven't shared a little love yet, please push that subscribe button because it helps amplify incredible voices like Sharon's today. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on Zest to Zen. I have to say that the podcast title just sounds so in tune with where I am that I was just delighted that you invited me.
Oh, do you know what? Thank you so much. And that really means a lot coming from someone else who, is a podcaster, because there's enough space, there's enough, there's an abundance for everybody. So that really means a lot to me. And I equally am so inspired by all you are creating. It's really, really powerful. And I know you are changing a lot of people's lives even before we start unfolding everything. So let's start off with that theme, shall we? Can you share a moment when amplifying a quiet voice led to a significant breakthrough or change? Let's get empowering straight away.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great question, Shel Marie, because it's like I do this in so many different ways. One of the ways that I do it is through my newsletter, where I amplify activists and change makers and founders. And I know there have been so many cases in which people have been featured there. It has put them put them on the radar of someone else, and it has led to a significant partnership for them. And more recently, I had the opportunity to work one-on-one with a founder who was working on getting out a diversity video project. And, we spent a day together getting some clarity and coming up with a way of working that really worked for them, so that they could then go forward and showcase their brilliance to the world. And, they managed to finish this thing that they had been stuck on for 6 months within the next month, which was really, that was really great. And this is stuff that is going to make such a difference to everybody that they come into contact with.
Wow. I love that. I love that already. And like on both sides, and this is the beautiful thing, isn't it? Because I always think everything is an exchange, because not only was that a beautiful moment for you, but that was a powerful unfolding for them. Like,
absolutely.
And that's sometimes what it is, isn't it? Like, it's nothing to do with the people in the organization. It's nothing to do with sometimes you just almost have it sometimes like this, that you can't see it.
sometimes you're too close to it. And sometimes It's about connecting with the right person. I'm a Reiki master teacher as well. And one of the things that we often say is, when the student is ready, the right teacher will appear. And sometimes it's about having that universal moment of synergy, of universal synergy, I think is the way that I prefer to put it, where you come together with the right person at the right time to help them achieve the thing that they are best positioned to achieve. And I think it was just one of those moments.
Beautiful. And I don't know if the newsletter share was linked to that, or whether that was extra to that. But are you right in saying that through the newsletter, this is how this evolved?
The last experience that I I shared was me working one-on-one with someone through the newsletter. I mean, the newsletter's been running for, we're now 60 year now. And
Wow.
I have amplified, I want to say, around 100 different change makers in it. And so there have been multiple experiences of that where that's more about making connections. That's about achieving support. Somebody will who reads the newsletter will say, "Oh my gosh, I saw these people. I want to get involved in that project.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
I want to support that person. I have given a donation." Sometimes it's small and quiet, and sometimes
Wow.
it's really, it's bigger. But it happens, and it
Wow.
happens regularly.
Well, that's what I was picking up on. That's incredible because that even shows the power of the written word, that someone really felt that, the way that the article's been put together, thinking about energy again, for the, there's reading something and going, oh, wow, and then kind of, getting on with the next thing, and there's taking action, and so that speaks volumes about your newsletter. And for anyone as intrigued as I am right now, all will be in the show notes, so please, please, please go and check that out. Incredible, absolutely incredible. And so just thinking about the other side, what are the common barriers that you are finding in your, not, I don't like to say line of work, because I feel like it's more than work. It's your purpose, it's you. It's an
It it
embodiment of you.
it definitely is my purpose, and honestly, I'm so grateful to have found that purpose and to be able to use my gifts to achieve that purpose. But you know, for example, when it comes to the anti-racism work, we're in a situation where there's significant backlash in different parts of the globe against that kind of work. And so it requires a little bit of internal fortitude sometimes to keep
Yeah.
going. Um, we're in an era where there is, even though there's enough for everyone, there are only certain kinds of work that are getting supported. And so, you have to deal with that as well. So, from that point of view, there are organizations, for example, that pay lip service to wanting to do something, but aren't actually putting their money where their mouth is, literally not.
Mm.
There are people who are shocked by things that are going on when, many of us have been talking about them for years and many more people for decades. So
Yeah.
there's that point of view. And then on the other side of my purpose is also, modeling what it is to show up introverted,
Yeah.
right? And so to my mantra is impact without exhaustion. Okay. Impact without exhaustion,
Yes, yes. And I
right?
think one thing that really, really stands out, and I feel that from you just speaking to you, is you don't have to have a powerful presence because you've got a loud noise. A
No.
loud noise can be generated by powerful, sometimes subtle, discreet, quiet actions that have amounted up to create momentum. So,
I agree with you because we don't want to be as Shakespeare said, full of sound and fury signifying nothing. We want to be quietly effective.
yeah.
And I think, a lot of people are surprised to hear that I'm an introvert because they see me on podcasts and they see me posting on social media. But going back to your earlier point, I'm a writer, I'm a former journalist, I'm a former educator. And so all of that, the written word is my playground. And
Mm.
so I think all of this has come about because I decided to start sharing my perspective in the newsletter, and the other things have come from that. And so often what I say to people is, find the spot where you're already comfortable, start from there and build from there, right? You don't have to work against your being. You work with what works for you, right? There's no point,
Beautiful.
you have to integrate. You have to bring be one, be one with
Yes,
yourself,
yes,
even,
yes,
right? And so that's really
absolutely.
important.
And what would your take be on? I'd just love to know if you do this, but I'm sure if you do Reiki that you're very aligned with this. But what's your take on intention settings before you do?
Oh my gosh, I love intention setting.
The
I
moment I
love.
learned this, I was like, how did I never know this?
I
Now
love
that was a
intention
hidden little
setting.
discreet secret that makes a bomb.
Oh my gosh, it's funny. I actually I published on American Diversity Report at the start of the year. I said I don't believe in setting New Year's resolutions, but I do believe in setting intentions. So I
Daily.
published a list of
Multiple
anti-racism
times a
intentions
day.
for the year. Right. And so I it's funny because I learned about intention setting around the time that I did my first Reiki class,
Wow.
which is now 20 years ago. Okay. And I was part of an intention setting circle for a while so we could get used to it and get good at it. And that circle eventually disbanded, but the practice of setting intentions has remained with me,
Mm.
right? The practice of using affirmations as well, right, to go along
Yes,
with those
yes, yes.
intentions, and just speaking into the world what you're creating. And it's interesting because sometimes you look back later and you say, oh yeah, I remember setting this intention 6 months ago, 9 months ago, and you've just been, you've put it out into the world and you've released it,
Yes,
and then
yes.
you wait, and you
Mm.
carry on living the rest of your life. So yeah, intentions are a powerful tool. Intention setting is a powerful tool, and definitely something that we could all use more.
Absolutely. And I think
However,
yeah, yeah. No, come on.
you
Yeah.
can't have it. No, you can't have intentions. It's all very well and good to set intentions and to release it, but you take action as well.
Absolutely, and that was in line with what I was just about to say, which shows we're definitely thinking on the same wavelength right now. Because I do the opposite of something happens, and I'm like, what intention did I set? And I have to think about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I know how this has happened in my life.
Because it's true. Sometimes you set an intention and you're not specific. You say an affirmation and you're not specific. And you have to be very specific
Yes,
because
yes.
otherwise, you know, there are all kinds of unintentional ramifications. For example, I know someone who um, set an intention to was traveling to a country, set an intention to get through customs smoothly and easily, and they did, but they also got a fine for some of the stuff they were carrying. So they said, well, for next time, I'm going to set an intention to get through smoothly and easily without additional financial penalty.
Yeah, peace with peace.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. And sometimes I love these memes and things. Like every now and then there's some really great ones. And if you really look at them like more than just the entertainment value, some of them really teach you. Like, so what it was is I remember it was something like showing either a prayer or an intention, because I feel sometimes they kind of interlink anyway. And
mhm.
she's saying like, or even affirmations like, this year I want to be strong, I want to be powerful. And then she was like, this is coming at her, this is coming at her, this is coming at her. And she's like, no, that's it, courageous. And she's like, what's happening? And it's like, well, what's the opposite of courageous? Like, how can you practice being courageous if you don't have some experiences
Think-
to show
Yeah,
it? So,
exactly, exactly,
um,
exactly.
and someone else said recently about patience. They were saying, oh, I just really want to be more patient this year. And then the queues were getting longer. People were like screaming, kids
Mhm.
kicking the back of a chair. And she was like, what is happening? Well, you wanted to practice patience.
Yeah, yeah. So
um,
yeah, we even have to be intentional about our intentions.
yes, yes, yes,
For sure,
yes.
for sure.
But I think that also, even in sharing that, shows the beauty, because it also shows that it's not fixed, then that's it. Okay, now that's it. No, if you're conscious and you're aware, you can also, change the intention. So I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I would love your take on this, but I think ultimately what we believe becomes. So if we believe that, then it
I
becomes.
think I think mindset has a lot to answer for. Getting
Yeah.
yourself in the right mindset to create the outcomes that you want,
Yes.
supporting that with intention, supporting that with action. And actually, in the case that I told you about, in this work that we did together, we actually started with mindset. We started with some
Mm,
meditation. We started with some affirmation, and we did all of that before moving on to this strategic piece. And
yeah.
the feedback that I got was that was what put them in the right frame of mind to actually be able to do what they
Yeah.
had set out to
Yeah.
do, right? And
Absolutely.
so, and I don't tell anybody to do things that I don't do myself. I have affirmations that I use daily. I have mindset work that I do daily. And, you know, and then I continue to take action aligned with the things that I
Yes.
have said I want to achieve.
Yes. And I would love your take on this, but I think sometimes you've also got to be open to the aligned action, not always looking how you are expecting it to look as well. Because
Absolutely.
otherwise you
That is
miss
the,
it, you miss the gem, the beauty. Because yes, we should, send that email, go to that place, whatever it is aligned with what we're doing. But also, when maybe you have someone, excuse me, and you're, oh no, I'm busy right now. You don't know who that person is, why they've entered your life, what they want to tell you. So
I
I don't
think
know.
you definitely have to be open to guidance. You have to pay attention to intuition. You have to have discernment and,
Yes, yes,
discernment for lessons you might be meant to learn, discernment for people that might be good to be in your life, but also discernment for the people that should not be in your life
yes,
and the experiences you should not be saying yes to.
yes.
So
That's
I
that's
think it
very
works both
wise.
ways.
Yeah. And I think even with that, intuition plays quite a big part, because you'll get a feeling like obviously that was just an example of the excuse me, but like, so we mustn't take things literally as well. Like everybody's experience is so different. So I think it's always really important to check in with yourself whenever you can. So with that in mind, what what would you say, like, impact looks like without exhaustion? And I know there's, again, that's a very big thing to ask. There's multiple examples, but I think
Oh my
sometimes it's
gosh.
nice to help people put it into practice a little bit more. Like it could be a really simple thing.
I think it looks like fulfilling your purpose, doing the work that you're called to do without feeling drained and burned out at
Yes,
the end of it.
yes, yes, yes.
And I think it's so easy to get so bound up in your purpose and your mission that you
Yeah.
keep going, 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 right? And for me as an introvert and for my fellow introverts, that just is not sustainable,
Oh,
right? I need I need downtime after social engagements. I need downtime after podcast recordings. Let's be honest, right?
yeah,
I need breaks in between events in order to because my social battery gets depleted quite quickly, right? And
yeah,
so, in
yeah,
order to be able to show up as I want to show up, I have to build those breaks in for myself.
yeah.
And I think, for me, that's definitely what I've done. I've had years where I have not got the balance right,
Mm.
and then I end up depleted at the end of it. Last year was great. I got to the end of the year. I was not sick. I was able to take a couple of weeks off at the end. I did practically nothing. And then I came back feeling refreshed. And
Beautiful.
so that's what impact without exhaustion looks like. I mean, my work is out there, it is reaching people because a lot of it is written,
Yes.
right? I had a great conversation with someone the other day in the DMs, and they were talking about reading my newsletter, the things they had learned, and the fact that they had then taken these things and shared their learning with other people, which
Wow.
which I think is always what I aim for that, for that learning, for those insights to go further. right?
Absolutely.
Don't just read something, take action, spread the learning. That's how we change things. And so that was an example of impact. And that impact was happening even when I didn't know. I'd already written this article.
Yeah.
Someone had shared it, and I was there, watching TV with my family while they were sharing these insights.
Well, what have we just been talking about, and what did that confirm? Because you said that my intention is, so to hear that made me really happy because my intention, you set
Yeah,
that intention,
yeah.
and then,
Actually, it
yeah.
goes further than that, Shelmarie, because
Wow.
when in the of the first year of the newsletter, I wrote an article called Fighting Racism with the Ripple Effect. And that made me happy because that was an intention,
Yeah.
right? Even though I didn't phrase it that way. And that conversation I had confirmed that was what was happening.
Wow. I think that's really powerful what you've just said there because, when we are at different phases and we can maybe put the language and the explanation on what we're doing, because I think that's what you just said. I really, really value that because, like, I feel like, and obviously correct me if I'm not explaining it right. I'm probably saying it in my way of saying it, but I feel like you had such a drive to create that article that you didn't need to sit and do an intention because the intention was in the action. um and like, oh, I'm getting so shivers just thinking about it. And so that all that energy or everything that you put into that article is felt because you generated it. It's like an artist. You go in and
And
you
every
look at the artwork and you don't know why. People might cry, people might feel completely different emotions because like people could say this, or we're all on different levels, but but
true,
ultimately,
but everything is energy and we're all connected.
yes,
Everything
everything,
is energy and we're all
everything,
connected. And
everything.
that is why fighting oppression is important. That is why seeing the humanity in others is important.
Yeah.
That is why, avoiding creating artificial divisions is also important.
Yes, yes.
And it's why I do the work that I do.
Yeah, yeah,
One of the reasons, certainly, you know,
absolutely. And
there,
then,
I mean, there are a lot of catalysts for this kind of work, and one of them is obviously experiences I've had myself. But, as a result of those experiences, I also had to decide how I was showing up in the world. And how
yeah,
I'm showing up in the world is, looking for the humanity in others first. That does
absolutely.
not mean that there aren't people that you have to get out of your life, because, there are always those people. But you don't start from that perspective.
Yeah,
I don't start from that perspective.
no, no. And I feel like sometimes people will come in or experiences will come in, and often our mind tries to relate that or them to something else. And again, we shouldn't do that because it's a new person. Like, even sometimes when people look familiar or they do one little action or something, and going back to, like, really seeing the goodness in all. We can't straight away make an assumption by maybe something someone has said or the way they did something, maybe one off. Like, we should always try and see the highest good in people, but equally have discernment.
Yeah, there's definitely a balance to be struck there, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
I think that, that discernment that is built on your past experiences with people, and there's certain warning signs that you pay attention to,
yeah,
and
yeah,
there's certain red flags, so to speak. But, equally, sometimes, it's good to ask a question. you know why do you think that way? What did you mean by that? what
mm-hmm.
made you what made you decide that this was the attitude or approach? Or my friend, Lyndon Berberich, says, has a really good question. Who who told you that, and why did you believe them, or why did you believe it?
Yes,
Really, really
yes.
great question.
Absolutely. And I think that in itself, what you've just shared, really shows a high level of emotional intelligence and conscious communication, because I definitely think that's something that all of us could work on. And in those moments, some people get so caught up in the emotions and things like that. But like what you said, it's almost just getting curious about it, even though sometimes you might not always want to hear the answer, but at the end of the day, then you're going to get the truth generally.
And we also have the option to know, recognize when we're not in a space to have a particular conversation and
Yeah,
absent ourselves, right?
yeah,
It is perfectly okay to say, I'm not in the right headspace for that today. This is a
absolutely.
conversation I'd like to come back to, but today's not the day.
Oh, Sharon, I wish I could carry you around with me, because I feel like sometimes in those moments, particularly with like people that have been in your life a long time and they know you well, I feel like, you have all the tools, all the techniques, and then you're just like
It's
and the
uh,
zest
it's
the
harder.
zest comes out.
It's harder with the people. It's harder with the people that you've known
Yeah.
for a long time sometimes to set those boundaries.
Yes.
But it is possible. It is possible.
Yeah.
It may require a little more work, a little more
Yeah.
repetition, but it
Yeah.
is possible. I
Yeah.
you know, it's funny. Because I've always been an introvert, but I went through I went through the phase of trying to show up in the way that people expected me to show up, which was exhausting. And now I don't do that anymore. And I have told people, and so people will call and see if it's, or they'll text actually and find out if it's okay to call or to come round. And, most of the time I get plenty of warning of social occasions so that I can plan for them. And
Mm.
so, I mean, it's only taken a couple of decades, right? What's a couple of decades between friends?
But again, you just dropped an absolute gem, I believe, because again, because almost that energy, and it's not saying that it's predominant the person, because I think a lot of people that are performing in that way are exhausted and want to close the door, and it's not them also, because we are almost, be confident, we're kind of almost pulled that way, not knowing that we're all different. And ironically, even though I am an absolute social butterfly, but I also want my quiet time, and yeah, I don't really and it's just funny how you've communicated that, because I've never really communicated it like that. But it's not, I don't have an open house, but I like my sacred time as well, and it's
Absolutely.
really important to me. And of course, if someone came to my house, like, they would be welcome, but I'd also be a little bit more off guard. Whereas there's other people, the door's constantly in and out, the TV's on, they're doing that, everything's, and for me, I'm like, okay, this is too much.
No.
But if I'm in that mindset and I'm out, I'm larger than life. But equally, I also love my quiet time. I love, my reflective time, and especially in the evenings, like, I really love to pour into myself, and kind of have whoever's in my environment around me. And
Yeah.
I think that's really important what you've just mentioned, because I've never really mentioned that, and I'm even thinking about some people where I've picked up on that about them, and I wouldn't just turn up at their house because I've picked up on that, but they've not openly ever communicated that. Um,
Yeah.
and actually, I think, yeah, that it's a really important thing to do, I think. Um,
I think, yeah. And, I remember having this conversation with a friend, and I said, I really appreciate that you asked first. I appreciate that,
that's beautiful.
because I felt like you had actually seen me, right? And
Yeah,
isn't that what we all want? To be
yeah,
seen and appreciated for who we are?
yeah. I love that. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And so just thinking back to your newsletter or opportunities that you offer, like to have people connect with you and help amplify voices of people who aren't always ready to put themselves out there, but they have a lot that's important that they need to share. What advice would you give to people right now if they're sitting there like intrigued and wondering?
Come talk to me, especially if you're an introvert and you're thinking about how to get your voice out there. I love talking to people like that, people who are social justice, anti-oppression minded, people who have something to say that we're not hearing from the different voices,
Yeah.
right? We don't need to hear more from the Davids and the Jeremies. We've heard enough of those guys. We want to hear from the people that we don't hear from as often, right? We want to hear from the people who are quieter, the people who are less heard. So yeah, let's definitely have a conversation. You know, maybe you're
Beautiful.
doing anti-racism work and your work should be featured in my newsletter. Maybe you want something more one-to-one. Let's have a conversation. I think don't wait for the perfect moment to
Yeah.
share what you have to share,
Yeah.
because there's somebody
Absolutely.
out there who's waiting for the message that you have right now. So get it out there.
Yes, and I love that you said that, because it's not definitely 100% not making the link, but sometimes it can be an aspect of it, because of kind of sometimes very traumatic things that have happened in people's lives. That's how the voice shuts down,
Mhm.
and so, like, listen to this incredible lady here, like, even reaching out to her, no one's going, not saying that, but in those actions, those aligned actions, there's a reason why sometimes maybe you've experienced what you've experienced, and there's a reason why your voice needs to be heard now. And think more, rather than it being about you, about others, like what you so powerfully said. Because I think often, and I always go back to the example of speaking on a stage. And I remember the moment, I know it's not the same at all, but I remember the moment where that mindset switched for me personally, because I remember all the nerves, all this, that, and the other. And then I remember someone being like, it's not actually about you. And when you just get that, and it's like, it's about what the reason why you're here today to say what you need to say, because it's not about you, it's about the people that are listening. And that, just for me, obviously everything works differently for other people, but that just really switched something in my mind. It's got nothing to do with
It's
you. It's
so
nothing about you.
I think that is the thing. That is a message I keep getting, particularly about the newsletter, the people that are being supported, because it's not just supporting the people who want to learn more about becoming anti-racist. It's
Yeah,
supporting the Black people who are the only ones in their organization
yeah.
who who are being gaslit about their experience. It's supporting those people. I had such a beautiful letter from someone towards the end of last year. And this person was in Sweden and people were gaslighting him. And he said, I read your newsletter and I realized that I was not making this up, that I was experiencing this,
Oh my
that because you
gosh.
shared those similar experiences and other people had had them, that this was a real thing. And that person decided, okay, now that I've recognized this, I need to move to an environment that is more nurturing of the
Yeah,
whole of my being.
yeah.
And so yeah, and so that moments like those are why I keep doing the work that I do.
Wow. That's really, really, really powerful, and yeah, it really shows as well, especially when you're in environments and you're the minority, that you feel it, but then you don't know anymore. No, no, okay, no, because, and then even I think, just from traveling around, it can be passed as, oh, cultural. That's the way we are here, or this, or this, and you know how you feel inside. You know. And whether
Yeah,
you're too sensitive to this, to that, whatever, if it's not explicit, that person did a wise thing, because that environment is not for you. It is not promoting your well-being, and they actually don't deserve more than the payroll. They don't deserve your time and your energy and what
for
you are
sure,
offering.
for sure, for
Point
sure.
blank.
And I think a lot of minoritized people feel that, um, which is the terminology I tend to use. Also, one of my favorite phrases coined by Rosemary Campbell Stevens is people of the global majority.
Wow.
People of the global majority, because Black and brown people are the majority of the population of the globe.
Wow.
And, don't you just walk taller when you think of yourself as part of that group,
Good.
right?
Yeah, but that's
So,
the thing.
yeah,
We should have these empowering, you know, thoughts, because like what you said, because then when you're in, not you, but when that person was in
yeah,
that situation, you can get so easily lost in it. And
for sure.
it's actually, particularly, to be someone who's white, it's embarrassing. And it's really that we've got to this time now where, particularly, this, how much mixed race now, how many people are constantly not even in the same, it's not even white and white, or it's not even black and white, it's Chinese with whoever. And there's so much, of uniting in love. And it's just such a shame that, and I know it's powerful people like you that are creating this impact, but it's such a shame that we still have these things happening, and in a cowardly way, let's put it that way, because again, not always, but that particular situation that you mentioned, that is a very coward move, because they know that that person is singled out. So it's just, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's sad. But the thing that I hope is that the people who are listening to this today
Yeah.
will take a look at where they sit in that whole equation. Will think about what have they done to be supportive, to be an advocate.
Yes.
How have they supported a system that is demeaning someone else? Is there
Yes.
a way that they can do better?
Yes.
I'm not asking
Absolutely.
people to out
100%.
themselves. I'm asking them to take positive action. That
Yes.
if that were the result of this podcast today, that would be a beautiful result. If
Yes.
you made life better for a person of the global majority that you have come into contact with.
Beautiful. And again, another powerful perspective, because again, it's not saying you are the same as that person, but when you see what's happening and you are allowing it, you pretty much are contributing towards it, I
Yeah,
believe. Because I just always think, if the shoe was on the other foot and it was you, would you like that to be happening, and not one person be supporting you, not looking out for you, not making you feel welcome? Or obviously I don't know
yeah.
the ins and
There
outs,
is
but
no. You've just reminded me of a really powerful video featuring Jane Elliott. She's a white anti-racism educator, and she was speaking to a packed auditorium, and she said, if you are happy to be treated the way that the society treats Black people, stand up. And
wow.
not a person stood. And she said,
Oh,
so then, what are you doing about it?
yeah, yeah, yes. And I
And
believe from, sorry, carry on, Sharon.
no. And I was just going to say, part of getting from Zest to Zen, right, is creating a world where we can all thrive, where we can all
Yes,
be fulfilled, where
yes.
we can be all be happy. And this is a big thing that needs to be changed.
Absolutely. And I know we can say this easily, but it's true. We don't come out of the womb seeing, hating other people. We come
We do
out
not.
for love and curiosity, and just, so angelic, so pure. And then so even in those small situations, those sometimes discrete ones, are you still allowing certain things to be playing out? And I think, because that's the thing, it's in those often small little jokey comments that things are being allowed, and oh, it's a joke, but is it a joke?
But is it a joke? Did
No.
the person who's the target of it find it funny?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You know,
And I always remember back, just as sometimes as an example, because I was an educator for 13 years plus, and even when I was in the Middle East, I remember, and again, it wasn't. She was actually Indian, but there's quite a big nanny culture, and I remember there were two 3-year-olds, and there was a slide, and I remember she went to push this little girl, and I said, we don't do that, and she said, I do what I want to her. Now, that is the job of the educator at that time, even if it's cutesy, even whatever, to be stopping that right there. And I was like, oh no, this is not happening. And it just happened. Again, it could be a coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidence, that the nanny happened to be of that ethnicity. But no. And these are the little things where we have to be really cautious of them, and what is being said and what's happening throughout the world, and
but
yeah.
but also I think it's really important for us to reach the people in our own circles,
Yes, yes.
right, as well, because those are the people that are most likely to listen to us. You go out to your friend group and you say, "Hey, I had this really cool conversation. Here's something I learned," and who knows what the effect of that will be as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. Well, it's been an absolute honor having you on, Sharon, and I'm sure just speaking to you, your podcast is just as impactful as your writing. I think it's incredible what you are standing for, and I know that, like what you said, with the responses and how long your newsletter has been happening, that these, I don't believe that these are little seeds. I believe they are things that have been planted that are just going to continue to grow. And I think it's incredible. I'm really happy we spoke today, and I want people listening to really, really listen carefully to what was expressed today, and reach out to this incredible woman. And yeah, I think it's amazing all that you're doing. Really
Thank you
do.
so much. Thank you so much. Really appreciate being here and having the chance to talk about these issues, which are so important.
Absolutely. And just one final thing before you go, and all your details will be in the show notes. So if there's anything extra you want to express, you're more than welcome to. But if there was something you could tell someone listening right now, what would you say to them?
I would say, if there's an action that you can take today to make the world a better place, take it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You've been such a blessing, and yeah, I think I just admire you, and just keep thriving, keep striving, keep connecting with those people and opportunities and places. And I think, yeah, really, really honor you and all you're creating. Thank you.